Hello, my name is Christopher. I'd like to ask you a question. How many of you know what commercial aviation is? Well, you know when you fly in a plane and you fly to, let's say, California and you fly JetBlue or Delta Airlines, etc.? Well, those airlines are commercial airlines. So in conclusion, commercial aviation is the part of aviation where you fly on public airlines to places. We will begin our story in the dawn of commercial aviation in 1930. In 1930, reading lights, vents, air conditioners were a huge luxury on a plane. Smoking was allowed on these planes, and cigarettes went in an ashtray. There was no joystick to control the plane. Instead, it was like a car wheel, as you can see. In 1933, the entertainment aboard these planes were newspapers, magazines, and looking outside the window. Flight attendants knew the geography of the flight, so they would say, for example, on the left you can see New York. We can see Statue of Liberty from here. Planes also need to refuel several times on short trips, such as from New York to Chicago. In 1945, it took 19 hours to cross the Atlantic Ocean. There was no navigation system, no radio communication, and unpressurized cabins, and unreliable piston engines. In 1955, the first jet engine was built. This allowed planes to fly higher above bad weather. There was voice transmission, advanced navigation aids, and an air traffic control system so the pilots could communicate with each other. In 1958, as air travel became more popular, airports became more modernized. The first computerized control system was also put into use this year, and a flight from New York to Paris only took 9 hours instead of 19 hours. In 1969, turbo engines were introduced into aviation. They could power larger, more reliable planes. This year, the charter flight was also introduced into aviation, and airlines even developed their own flight school as well. In 1982, the first glass cockpit was introduced into aviation, featuring electronic flight displays. Advanced computer technologies were starting to benefit many areas of aviation. There were better autopilot systems, good navigation systems, and this year they started making training simulators. In 1987, fly-by-wire technology, FBW, with flight envelope preventing extreme aircraft maneuvers. FBW, fly-by-wire, replaces conventional manual flight controls of an aircraft with an electronic interface. Engineers also created a system this year to teach crews in every way possible to handle a safe flight. In 1988, safety cards had very little instructions on them. They were not sophisticated at all. Today, safety cards have much more instructions on them. For example, in 2001, safety cards were like a newspaper. They could unfold into many, many parts. In 2001, the TSA, Transportation Security Administration, was created because of the 9/11 terrorist attack. This was a huge improvement for security from before 9/11. I interviewed a man named Rudy Heiber. He is a certified flight instructor. He teaches people how to fly the Cirrus aircraft safely. I learned many cool facts, such as a GPS was used in cars a long time before it became common in planes. I also learned autopilots are so sophisticated that they can land a plane even when the pilot can't see the runway, and also in other very hard conditions. I also learned the reason the air traffic control system was invented was because of a United Airlines flight and a TWA flight mid-air colliding over the Grand Canyon. Some airports and planes were originally used for military aviation. When not needed, they became used for commercial aviation. Rudy showed me this plane built in 2012. We talked about big plane tools in this plane, such as the joystick to control the plane, the throttle to give the plane speed, the passenger computer safety, and the navigation systems. Here's the 1950 plane. This plane was more cramped, used knobs, switches instead of computers, used a car wheel instead of a joystick, like the 1930 plane, and you can obviously tell the difference in the design. And if you actually touch the plane, it is made of fabric. The FAA created an ecosystem plan making aviation very eco-friendly. Here's what they're doing today. Each plane seat produced 50% less carbon dioxide than it did in 1990. By adding winglets on 8,300 planes, they saved 56 million tons of carbon dioxide. Replacing papers with tablets saves paper. The pilots used to use paper to do their checklists. Now they use tablets, which saves paper. There's also satellite technology, where satellites in space, they track the planes on Earth, which means more on-time arrivals and departures, and more planes can be in the same airspace, so they can be closer together. The ecosystem also has goals to make aviation even more eco-friendly. Here are their goals. Aircraft manufacturers aim to do carbon neutral growth by 2020. In 2050, aviation aims to cut carbon dioxide emissions in half. Aviation safety is really safe today, but it can become safer in many, many ways. In conclusion, aviation safety, luxury, technology, and customer service is being improved daily. Crashes become more rare as aviation experts figure out ways to prevent them. Aviation safety is really safe today and can become safer in many ways. However, it will never be 100% safe. For more information, be sure to visit my blog on this amazing capstone project. Also, be sure to scan this QR code that'll link you to my blog or take you to my blog. Thank you.